Welcome back to IGN Live at Comic-Con, brought to you by the all-new LG G4. I'm Max Scoville. Joining me, Joshua Yale, Scott Snyder, and Greg Capullo. Thanks for joining us, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
We had some words with you. You killed Batman, and you replaced it with a new Robo-Batman, who's really Jim Gordon. What the heck, guys?
Scott has a lot of drugs.
Yeah. It was just a drunken night. It just became Batman. No, I mean, I think with this arc, I mean, what we're trying to do is explore the idea would Batman work better if he operated inside the law? If Batman was somebody who was an extension of the things that people put in place to protect themselves in a city like New York or Chicago or Baltimore or Gotham, where they've lost faith in those same sort of mechanisms, you know, because of what happened in Endgame, because of what happened historically in Gotham. So it's a question that we feel is pretty resonant. And then what we tried to reveal in the last issue in 42 is that the story is largely also about Bruce Wayne. It's a big story about sort of what if Batman died and Bruce Wayne came back somehow. So
I was going to ask you that. I was like, is this Clayface or something? Are you guys teasing us at the end of every issue something to do with Bruce Wayne? And the last, this week's obviously very blatant. We actually saw him in the flesh. And is that really him?
Is it really Bruce Wayne that shows up at the end? Yeah, it's absolutely him. You know?
It is him.
And like Scott likes to say, we had to make him sexy to compete with Nightwing, so hence the beard. And so far, the reaction has been great. Girls are like, we just did an interview, and the girls goes, the beard, I'm into the beard. You know, so it's like, yeah.
I mean, if you were like Batman and you've been, you know, having the cowl thing going on, like the first thing you do after you if you didn't want to do that, you'd grow a beard. Like firemen can only have mustaches because of the breathing apparatus. Like you want to cut loose. You know?
Yeah, well, when I was writing Nightwing, like all I got was more demands for butt shots, shirtless shots, and I was like, this is a serious book. And then I started writing Bruce, and I would make him shirtless or whatever, give a couple butt shots, and like nobody said anything. And he can't compete with Nightwing when it comes to the kind of clean-shaven look. And part of it was sort of the idea that the Bruce that we're bringing back, the Bruce of this story, is something you've never seen before in Batman. It really is. His back isn't broken. He doesn't have like amnesia. It's not something that that you would guess. We'll reveal it next month. But what you should know going in, it's a dream. It's a dream. Yeah.
It's a scoop.
Yeah, the last page is Jim Gordon waking up and his mustache is right in the camera.
I'm giving you guys a hard time about it, but really I'm enjoying like every step of the way seeing Batman be reinvented. And you know, this week's issue number 42, we got the new Batmobile, which is a bat truck, more like a bat train.
How dare you?
Yeah.
First you kill him and then you make his car a truck.
I know, just ruining the environment.
Yeah. Scott tells me you get to create a new Batmobile. You know, I go, cool. I get to do another one, and then he goes, but actually it's a bat truck. So I'm going like my Toyota Tundra truck. You know, he goes, no, like a rig. I'm going, okay, but not with the trailer. No, with the trailer. Maybe it's like a double trailer. I go, you know, it's like a bat cave on wheels. I'm going, but how does it whip around the city with all? Oh, we'll figure something out. And yeah, the figuring something out is it just takes a vertical plunge in the same issue that we debut it on. So
it comes back. You'll see the bat truck will have action.
Okay, well, because it looks like we're pretty rough shape now. We'll get a redesign. There will be a take two.
There will be a take two. One of the running jokes of the arc is that Jim Gordon never has a Batmobile, but he will have a Batmobile before he gets out of the costume.
Very cool. Very cool.
What kind of references, Greg, do you use when you're drawing like a totally invented bat truck? Like, do you draw any from like actual technology? You know?
Well, yeah, I mean, you want to have a jumping off point from something that's based in reality in order to make it look convincing. So, you know, yeah, sure. I look at trucks and I look at, you know, I'll maybe plug in, you know, futuristic truck and see what pops up. But ultimately, you know, you have to like think about how you feel about Batman, how you feel about a Batmobile, and then lay that over a truck design, you know, using those same principles, right? And so, you know, I try to, if you look at like the windshield and stuff, there's actually, it looks like the outline of a bat cowl and stuff like that, and what I think about, you know, with the ridges and the shape. So I think about what I feel about Batman and just try and superimpose that on top of a rig and, you know, and smooth out those edges to make it look more sleek and stealth and stuff like that. So it's mostly taken about what you feel about Batman and its character and putting that on a design, you know.
We actually have a question from somebody on Twitter, so let's take a look at that. This could be awful. Let's just find out.
Yeah.
Chris asks, Greg, as a Batman artist, what do you think of Andy Kubert drawing The Dark Knight Returns 3?
Well, you know, I know Andy, you know, from years ago working at Marvel and stuff like that, and I'm good friends with him, and he's a fine artist, and so I feel he's in it's all in good hands. I'm looking forward to checking it out when it gets put out.
What did you oh, please.
Well, I would just also say that I'm very good friends with Brian Azzarello, who's working on that project, and having spoken to Frank about the story, it's something that's going to be really special. And I've seen the script, for the first script of it, and you know, I would just say go out and pick up Dark Knight 3, because it really is something that I think pays homage to what came before in that series.
What was your reaction when you first heard the news? Or I suppose you guys obviously have some insider information, but when you hear that there's going to be another like sequel to this like seminal work, like a trilogy, especially with Batman and Superman coming out in movie theaters?
Well, for me, it was like, you know, when a girl's got that cold thing going on and she just gets a little protruding. I got very, very excited to hear.
That happened to you?
Yeah, they popped right out. So I love Frank Miller.
Good thing you're wearing a sweater.
I love Frank Miller, and so and Dark Knight Returns is like my very favorite thing, and it's like anybody who's not read a comic book, it's the first thing I want them to read, and it was the first, you know, American comic book I had my son read, you know, and so when I heard Frank Miller was coming out with something again with Batman, honest to God, you know, I said it crudely because I'm a crude guy, but I was so excited to hear it, and I can't wait to see it. I love Frank Miller.
And I mean, there's no way that's not going to be something special, you know?
It is special, and I would say, like, I was involved initially in some of the talking about the story, and what happened was, you know, Brian, who's a very good friend, he's actually helping me and working on the story of Batman 44. We're going to come out with a co-plotted issue of that. Brian was somebody who really went in there to sort of pull the story out of Frank in a way that I feel like would make it both what Frank wants and something that's really classically Dark Knight, and also something a little different that you wouldn't expect. And, you know, having been involved in that initially, I can tell you that what's come out of it is something that I couldn't be prouder of those guys, like both of them. And Andy's going to do a great job, and honestly, it's something that like I can step back and say my friends made something really great, and you know, I'm very, very proud of them for that. Cool. And I think it's going to be something good.
Very awesome. I should also mention that Klaus Janson, is that how you say his name?
Klaus.
He's the inker. Good for him.
That's always like, yeah, Miller and Janson that's good.
Yeah. So it brings that whole flavor back to it. So.
Yeah. Scott, while you're here, you know, obviously we're at Comic-Con where comics become movies and TV. You know, Witches, which was reported that it was picked up, I believe it was Brad Pitt's Plan B production company, is that right?
That's true.
Because they were interested in making Witches into a movie. Do you have an update on that?
Yeah. They just finished the first draft of the first screenplay. The guy who's doing it, Sergio, is wonderful. He's like, you know, I'm a big fan of his work. He's done some great horror stuff, and Jock and I just received photos from him where he was like, I finished the script, here's the script, he showed it to us, and it's great, I love it. And he was like, I'm on vacation in South America with my family, and look, I found the burrow, and it was like him spelunking in these caves, and I was like,
wow.
So
don't do that.
Yeah, no, I know. I was
don't you
like,
know
don't
what this is
die.
about?
Yeah,
Read the
exactly.
comic?
Right, don't die. But so it's going great. You know, we're really thrilled, and they've made us a part of the process. My stipulation with Jock was like, when we were talking to them joking around, I was like, our one demand is that we get to be in the movie and we play bumbling cops together. And they were like, they took it very seriously. I didn't realize like they would think that we were being very.
That's a pretty fair demand, though. That's like kind of a
Scott has a thing for cops because he's been begging me for the longest time to make him a cop somewhere in the scene. I've made myself a cop in the comic book, and I haven't done it for you yet. I promise.
All right.
At some point.
You heard it on IGN TV. Like as soon as at some point I will be a cop.
You will, yes.
All right.
Get punched.
Thank you guys so much for joining us. It's been great taking a chance to chat. And on that note,
thank you so much for coming.
No, it's a pleasure. Thank you guys so much for having us.
Yeah, and we've got a lot more stuff coming up right here from Comic-Con, so stay tuned.